You all. I want to welcome everybody to the Brunswick Housing Authority Board meeting. Today is July 24th, 2023. The time is 6:01, 6:02. And we're going to call the meeting to order. At first, I want to see if there are any changes with the agenda, any adjustments to the agenda.
Do we have occasion for a executive session tonight?
I don't know. So Ben is not going to be here either. So we can't really have one.
No changes then.
All right. Well, I'll entertain a motion for adoption of the agenda as presented. And then we'll move on.
I move to adopt and approve the agenda as presented for the meeting this evening.
Second.
The meeting agenda has been motioned to be adopted as presented and properly second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposers have the same. Thank you. We're going to start out with a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll move down to item C, approval of the minutes from the June meetings, the work session, and the special call meeting. Any changes to the minutes or corrections?
I believe Ms. Bailey emailed out a couple of changes. Did those make it in?
No, sir, not yet. Once they've been changed, I'll send out another copy or provide her a copy for a signature. No problem.
I move to approve the minutes from the work session meeting held on July 12th and the special call meeting held on July 18th of July of 2023, subject to the changes presented by Ms. Bailey.
Second.
The approval of the minutes from June meetings, work session on July 12th, and special call meeting on July 13th to be approved with the necessary corrections that have been submitted by the chair, Ms. Bailey. It's been motioned and second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. New business, Residents Council, Ms. Hayes.
We just want to report that we had a awesome event on the 15th. Ms. Honey and the work, Jobs Plus, they did a wonderful job helping us get everything organized and together. The kids had a wonderful time. They had cotton candy, they had snow cones, we did hot dogs. We had a really good DJ. They did some dance contests.
Okay.
A couple of the other communities, residents did come out. We had maybe 26 to 30 people show up and all.
We counted 53
You counted 53?
without children.
They must have got busy while I was doing snow cones.
That's why I wanted to show up.
Yeah, we
You
had an
didn't get
awesome
the
time
double
out
take,
Yeah.
Mr. Dixon.
there. He did come though.
I was disappointed. No.
Yeah, because everybody wanted to get wet that day. It was really hot out there, but we had a good time, and we plan on, we want to work to do one for each community. That way we can spread awareness about being on the Residents Council. We're looking forward to the Gara trip that is coming up in September, so we're making preparations for that, as well as putting a budget in concrete. And so we'll be presenting that at the next meeting.
And the training trip, right? That's the GAR. Okay. All right. Any other comments or information around the event? Anybody want to share?
It was hot.
Okay. All right. I know I was home trying to get my AC fixed.
We had it clean, right? We said, all right.
If it hadn't have been for Ed putting up that tent, we would have mailed it 6 times over.
Yes.
It was great though. We gave away door prizes to the residents. So we
Okay.
gave away 4 microwaves, a Blackstone grill, a basket
man.
full of household cleaning stuff. The kids won a Nerf gun and some of those big Ryan prize eggs that the kids love so much. We had an obstacle course, and it was really eventful, and we have already had 5 residents on Monday show up and ask us to register for crosswalks.
Okay,
Great.
all right.
It was a great event. It was really nice.
We got it
enjoyed
kicked up.
How did we get the door prizes?
So what happened was, I partner with an organization out of Statesboro, Georgia. They're a nonprofit called Fostering Bullets, and they go to Statesboro and get tractor trailer full of just items. So, if I show up, Chris just loads whatever I have as much as I can, and I bring it back. So, I'm on the board for the Veteran Village. We've been able to get 36 microwaves to put in every single one of the homes.
Oh, that's very cool.
All right.
Everything was a donation. Nothing cost us out.
That's great.
Residents Council would like a grill. On the big ones.
I have one left. We did give away a 4-burner propane grill too. We had a guess the M&Ms, amount of M&Ms in the jar, and we had a resident with us. That was strictly for the residents.
How many M&Ms?
404. I counted them myself.
Wow.
I guess 375.
Did anybody guess it on the number?
394. That was the only number.
Okay, all right, great. Well, let's keep that going. Anything we can do to assist, please let us know. All right, Executive Director's report.
Okay.
Ms. Jones?
Yes, sir. I have received all of the reports from all of the department heads. And
Okay.
so for our vacancy report, which is the first one that's on the list, you'll find a packet in there, and they're currently showing 97 units vacant.
Okay.
And Ms. Rolana Davis, along with Mr. Ed Williams, they're working together to get those vacancies done. As I spoke with you guys at the last meeting that we had, the work session, Mr. Fleming's turning over the 5 units every week. So far they've gotten 10 of those units. And so as they get them, then maintenance goes back in to do the repairs, and then he turns them over to the public housing admissions. And so last week she did have, she sent out 11 letters, 11 offers, and she got all 11 offered. So
Okay.
we're just waiting on them to come in and lease up. So that's
Okay.
11 units that'll be taken off at one time once they come in and get things rolling.
Man,
So
that's great.
so they're moving in the right direction as far as trying to get the occupancy issue dealt with.
Okay. All right. Commissioners, any questions around the vacancy report?
Has that wait list gone up a bunch? I feel like one of them was right around 1,200 and another one was sitting around 700 or 800. Did we have a big jump? Or did I miss
I don't know if you have a report in there that actually shows the number that's on the waiting list. I don't think.
It's I'm looking at
Are you looking at one from the last time?
no.
The one from Ms. Sharon,
Yeah.
the financial.
It's the finance. It's on the financial.
Okay. Yeah, so looks like public housing has 1,283 and Section 8 has 1,200.
Have you
Now,
heard of
Section 8 has gone up because
Yes.
they just opened the waiting list.
Okay.
What was it, a couple weeks ago? And so they had like over 1,000 applicants come in then. So yeah, that one has increased tremendously.
That explains it.
Yeah.
All right.
Any further questions on the occupancy and or the vacancy report?
Yeah.
I'm saying which tab is it?
Expending.
It's one that we'll go over later in the financials.
I got you. All right. Okay.
Okay, from there we have the facilities management updates. As we spoke the last time, we were waiting to receive the quotes dealing with the roofs that needed repair in Whispering Oaks, and we are still waiting on those quotes to come in. Mr. Williams has still been working on that, so he's waiting to get the numbers in so that we'll know what the cost is for that, or the estimated cost. And they did say that the Whispering Oaks maintenance has replaced the missing electrical panel cover in the mechanical room. And Mr. Williams and his crew, they plan to go over to cut the trees back there as well. And so those were the issues that we're dealing with that particular property. The vacancy turnover, which I just discussed about Mr. Fleming, as I stated, he's given us 5 units, a week. So far he's been working for the 2 weeks and he's turned over 10.
Okay.
And the problems that Mr. Williams had, he has already, remedied those issues with him so that he'll know exactly what he expects as he's going through.
Gotcha.
So he does do a walkthrough with him every Friday, and then he'll release those 5. And then the next Monday, then he gives him another 5 units to go into until we get the numbers down.
Gotcha. Okay.
They have a project going on in Brooklyn with the bath remodels. They actually started today. And they're doing renovations on the bathrooms in occupied units. And so he and I were discussing this morning some of the issues that they might have with that, because at the end of the day, they do have to make sure that the toilet is running because they're rehabbing the entire bathroom in those properties. But they do have to make sure that the toilet is running at the end of the day. And I think for each unit, it should be about 2 days. Is that right?
2 to 3 days. I spoke with Mike. Probably he called me to see if in the morning he should come and get that.
How many units?
Total?
Yeah.
Total that's 72 bathrooms, 66 full bathrooms, and 5 half bathrooms to be
Okay.
renovated.
And this is
15
all
are
of
done.
Brooklyn Homes?
All of Brooklyn homes. All of
Okay.
Brooklyn homes be 15 already done because they were vacant units. So now they starting in the occupied units.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it will cause some never mind. So
But yeah, so they do have those units that they're working in, and so which he stated he had already gotten some calls about some issues because we're trying to make sure that during the day whenever they're working in there, of course they have limited access to the bathroom. So that's what he and I were discussing, like how we can remedy that. And so we've just come up with some options that perhaps they could even use the bathroom at the office that's close by there.
What about portalettes? I know it's not, people don't want that, but
Mhm.
but if they bring clean units, we make sure they're clean.
that was my thought. Portalettes, I didn't say anything about it because it's so hot outside right now.
Right.
Mhm.
It's extremely hot out there.
Mhm.
Ain't gonna sit in the
Yeah.
sun.
I mean, outside of if the office is good with that, if we can manage that, that would be ideal
Mhm.
for this situation. But so just a thought.
Gotcha.
Just a thought for me, one of the units that are already done that's not occupied and it's close to the office so they can kind of keep an eye on it, and only that person whose unit is being renovated be able to use that place, because some of us have jobs, we can't go without a shower for 2 to 3 days and have to go to work.
Mhm.
That's a good idea. Do we have a unit that we can?
We have a few over there. So that's what discussion
Mhm.
change the UTS
Okay.
and put it as modernization. We'll take out that one, put it as modernization. Then we just have to get Mr. Fleming to clean it out that each family needs out of it. But you need 2 really, because they're gonna be able to work on 2 to 4 units at a time.
Okay.
They expect to turn over 4 a week. So you're not talking about one family, you're talking about you have to put 4. So you would need 4 units. Or you would need 2 units. And you're gonna end up with a community shower.
Mhm.
Doesn't sound appealing, but it sounds better than no shower at all.
Yeah, can we manage that without? Because I know we've offered units to people. Will it interfere with
Well,
that?
Well, there's a few in Brooklyn Homes that are far enough down the list that they haven't been offered. Matter of fact, the newest units on the vacancy list probably come out of Brooklyn Homes. I know I got 62 and 61 Brooklyn Homes, probably the newest two units on the vacant list. And they are not offered. The bathroom is already redone in 61. They're doing 62 today. Well, it's done in 60. These two, they confuse me. 61 is on the front. 62 is done. 61 is not done. But they haven't been offered yet. And it may be 2-3 months before we get to it.
Maybe just put up a friendly reminder that to leave the shower, the bathroom in the condition that we found it. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, if Ms. Hayes thinks that's the best solution.
I mean,
versus
the
anything.
last, worst case scenario option that I have in my head is if a family were to rent a hotel for the night, would that be something that they could present, to take off the rent? Maybe not the whole thing, but at least half of it, or just something, because some people are just not going for it. And, I have other people in the community, and we've thought about, okay, when yours is getting done, your family can come and take a shower at my house and vice versa. But what if we both get done at the same time? Then that's going to be an issue. But I'm not friends with everybody, and everybody doesn't mix with everybody else.
Right.
So what works for me may not work for the next resident.
And I get that and 100% willing to work it out when we can make it work for everybody. Because we all in agreement that it's something that needs to be done. It's an issue that needs to
So
be
Ms.
addressed.
Jones, can you approve that if somebody, do you need a motion from us?
No, I can approve it.
Okay, yeah, well, I say, work it out.
Yeah.
So we want the families to be as comfortable as possible going through this, and everything,
So is that something I can share at the next resident council meeting?
When is your next resident council meeting?
We try to do it on the first Thursday of the month.
Mhm.
That's gonna be,
So that'll be next Thursday.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I will get with him and then we can, get something in writing and that way you can have that to present.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. Because I think after, like today was the first day they went in occupied units. The first 2 units that they went into, people say they didn't get notified. No notice got put out because the unit next to them got it as well. But they had an issue where we're gonna use the bathroom. They're not state. So I told Mike not to worry about it. Figure that part out, work out. We'll go back to those units. So my plan now is to just go ahead and instead of notifying the people whose unit is going to be worked on, go ahead and get everybody a notice now so they know what's going on, know what to expect when they get to your unit. And then additionally notify those 48 hours before they get to your unit.
that way they might can make some
That way, yeah.
plans.
Mhm.
Okay.
If you don't want to use
Yeah,
the 2 community showers, and like I said, we can have Mr. Fleming, have this group come in and put it in.
all right. Sounds like y'all got that. Commissioners, any other questions around this? All right. Yeah, I have a question since we're on the facilities report. Y'all know what I'm about to ask about, the bats.
Yes, I wasn't done. This is, the
Go
bats
ahead.
is the last part. And so, as I stated before, Mr. Williams had contacted Critter Pro, to access to assess the issue. And they state that they believe that there are a few colonies in the building. And they have given a quote, to Mr. Williams as well for the bat removal. But there has been some question about when the bats can actually be removed because they're protected right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so through research, Mr. Williams has found that it looks as though that the bat season in Georgia ends after August 15th. So it looks like maybe August 15th, 16th that they would be able to be removed, although something previously had said like September, I think it was. And we do have a quote here for the bat removal, and it goes into details as far as, what they would do, and, like sterilization, deodorizer, and things like that. So we do have the cost from them. We just have the one bid, right? So we just have the one bid on this, and not sure if you were able to make contact with Savannah or not, with the company there.
Terminex, they haven't called me back either.
Okay.
Terminex from-
So he was trying to get another bid, but there are not very many people who deal with
I can
bats.
What is their
Their estimate is $11,478.
do they say about how many bats are in there? They may not can tell.
He said a few colonies. When I spoke to him, he said there were oil marks in some of the ridges on the roof, which is an indication of them going in that way, and gable ends on both ends of both buildings. So, and then he explained to me, he said when they enter structures, they tend to not go farther than 3 feet where they enter. So if you have marks here, bless you, you have signs here, signs here, signs there, and you have a few different colonies. They don't travel very far from where they go in at.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's probably a few different colonies.
Okay.
Well, haven't been able to get in touch with DNR.
Mhm.
Yeah, have you called that lady? Linda?
I
She
did.
hasn't.
called, I've called.
I've got a friend that works for DNR.
Yeah, well, I know, I just called the director of DNR, Doug Heyman, because Sunday at my church, there was a turkey in our parking lot. And we didn't know where it came from. It looked like it was wild, and, all the feathers was, and it was a big turkey. It was a pet. And turns out a guy has a hog, and the hog got into, I guess, tried to eat the turkey. And so it got out, and so we're gonna have to deal with it. But okay, well, I'll reach out as well and let him know that we tried to get in touch with her, and she hasn't responded.
Right.
So
Mr. Phelps, I have been in contact with him though, from DPH, and all he really wanted to know is if anybody had come into contact with him. And I know the young lady initially contacted you, Mr. Booth. Did she say they came in contact with him?
no, this was her mother that I talked with. Jeff Clark knows her mother, and we were at a meeting.
Oh.
And so, and she said that she didn't say that they had, her or any of the kids had been in contact. She just said the smell was so bad, and so I don't know if they, I'm sure there's some insulation up there and stuff,
is.
and I don't know if they eat through that or what, and if there's any, holes or anything that might open itself up to that. So
I went by that unit and tried to speak with that young lady because like I said, I remember. Well, I wasn't here when they did it, so it had to been over 4 years ago when they had an issue in that building specifically. They had an issue in that building specifically. There was a hole in the screen on the end of one of the gables, and they got bats into that building. And it makes sense why they would live down there. If you've ever been to Hopkins Homes, a lot of mosquitoes down there,
oh, okay.
and it's their food supply.
Oh,
It makes sense
okay.
why they would live there.
Yeah.
We only need DPH. We would only need DPH if we
Yeah.
couldn't do something quickly, but it sounds like we can probably move forward on the 15th.
On the 15th. It said, everything I've seen said the season ends on the 15th, and you can move them out. The issue with moving them out before then is the juvenile bats can't fly. And if you
Okay.
run the parents out, nobody to feed the juveniles, and they die in your attic space.
Yeah.
I did not think I would learn about bats on this board.
Me either. Okay. Well, sound like we are on the road to clearing it up. How the families?
By the 15th, I may be able to locate a couple more companies that can do it. But Mr. Phelps from DPH, he said the only ones he had was critical from Jacksonville. It's not many companies that's
Right. And what about the families? Anybody had to be relocated or anything?
I've been able to get in touch with him.
So
Knock on the door.
Okay, all right, well, that's all we can do, but we're working on the issue, so, okay. Anything else, Ms. Jones?
Not dealing with, the facilities management. That's the end of that report.
Okay. Commissioners, anything else on this?
I just want to know, do you have signs in that area where the bats are to let the residents know to beware, watch out for the children, things like that?
No, and I don't. No, ma'am.
Is that something that we could do just because, these people that live right up on them, they may know, but 2 complexes down, they may not know, and their kids might play in the area. So just as a safety precaution, or just send out a letter to everybody beware.
Yeah, Ms. Jones, and I don't know, do we have access to making our signs? We have to order signs from somewhere.
Order them.
Okay. Well, there may be a letter over there.
Yeah, I think that would.
Yeah, letter would probably be better.
Okay. That's a good suggestion, Ms. Hayes. Okay, commissioners. Any other good suggestions? All right, Ms. Jones?
All right, so the next part, we're looking at the financial report. And I do have a brief summary that I will read to you from Ms. Sharon Dyer about the finances. And these reports you're going to see, they are preliminary financials for June 2023 that you're looking at in your packet. The accountant, Philip Gerald, is on site this week, and he is finalizing and reviewing the FY23 numbers. He's the one that gets the reports ready to submit to HUD for audit. So as a matter of fact, I spoke with him today. There are several types of entries that are booked once at the year end, and that includes the calculation of compensated absences and expenses and correlating liability accounts. And so he's doing that part along with the depreciation values, the estimates of those. He's also doing those. Because of things like this, we refer to the June financials that are presented to the board as preliminary. And the deadline for the submission of the fiscal year end 2023 financial package to HUD is August the 31st. So he'll make sure that that all of the things are done and that the report is submitted in a timely manner. And because of the number of departmental transfers and organizational chart changes in this fiscal year, there will be an adjusting journal entry made to correctly allocate employees to the departments as to how they are now assigned. And that's due to the organizational chart changing so many times, people being put in other departments. So him and his wife are actually working on that today to get those numbers in line. So there will be an adjusting journal entry made for that. And once we're presented with that, then the board will be presented with that as well. And of course, this will affect both the salary and the benefits accounts. In addition, since all the central office expenses are allocated to the programs based on their percentage of total salaries, there will also be an adjustment between departments to the allocated overhead account and its administrative expense. In the public housing, you will notice an increase in the vacancy prep cleaning and painting under maintenance contracts. And that is simply because during the past administration, there were no get-readies. They weren't doing that. For some reason, it was a standstill. So now you'll see some costs that were added in there where Mr. Williams had procured it. And he had HD to do some contract work for them to get those units ready. And so this work was primarily done to upgrade the units. And then towards the end of the fiscal year 2023, we did contract with Home Depot to provide services to clean and paint 20 units so they could be leased as soon as possible. And this was completed in the fiscal year of 2023. So you'll see that number there. And also, whenever you look at your financial statement, I think it should be the last page. The page that you were looking at before that showed the the waiting list numbers. has a little color to it. Yes, that one. You will note that, under the bank balances at the top left, and underneath that it has Jobs Plus grant and then the Ross grant, and it shows a negative figure there. That money will come back. It hasn't been drawn down, but it will come back to reflect a positive number they'll have to reimburse. So as soon as Sharon does those drawdowns, then that money will come back into those particular accounts. So that's why you're showing that negative figure there. And we've already gone over the waiting list numbers there for the public housing and Section 8.
Do we know the amount, I'm sorry, do we know the amount for the grant that will return?
Yes, those negative figures that are right there, the 58,000.
Okay.
Yes,
Got it.
those amounts.
Okay.
And that is pretty much it from her financial report. And like I said, you won't have exact numbers until Mr. Gerald is done with his assessment of everything. And then they get things moved to the right categories as they should be for the employment part of it.
Okay. Commissioners, questions?
I'm gonna shoot a couple questions out there.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll have the answers to.
Okay.
Since we're both kind of new here. On the other tenant income, we're, I guess just on the income side, we're on other tenant income, the actual versus the budgeted is noticeably off, 406 to 130. What,
Where are you at?
on the income statement?
And call those numbers out again?
Other tenant income is the third line. Budgeted total was 406,000, and we actually got 130,000. Just
Yes, I do see that.
I guess what is the other tenant income comprised of, if you know? Or,
That I will have to find out because I'm not sure where that comes from. I'll have to ask that question and find out where that other income comes from because that is a large decrease in what they actually received.
and then I guess just sort of same kind of reasoning on the maintenance contracts. I think you kind of explained that one. Other general expenses, that was way off. I'm guessing that's sort of just the contingency fund, throw everything in there. And then our bad debt expense was way lower.
It is.
And I'm wondering if the bad debt expense is mostly because we were charging some fees to the tenants that we had to adjust
Right.
and kick out. But even then, that's a pretty wild discrepancy. So
It
maybe
is.
just for the final approved numbers, anywhere where there's more than a 20%.
Yes.
Maybe.
And Philip will definitely provide explanations.
Great.
Yes.
All right. Then that's all I got.
For investment income, investment instruments, I guess, the CDs, these are the only ones, and you may not know this, but these are the only ones that we have, those two CDs.
Yes, as far as I'm aware, even from the last report that she gave, there were only the two on there.
Okay. All right. And so we're not doing any other kind of investment?
Not yet,
Okay.
no. And I'm not gonna get into that, being the interim. We'll let the permanent person make those changes along with the board.
But as a question to you,
Mhm.
are you familiar with the authorities doing additional investments other than CDs?
Other than CDs, no.
Okay.
Because that's all that we have too at our authority are the CDs as far as investing.
The reason I bring it up is Community Action Agency. We do have a contract. Well, initially it was with SunTrust, but they were really overcharging us. And while we were in the black still, they were still getting too much fees.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put it out, and now we're doing a lot better. Matter of fact, quite a bit better.
Okay.
So it is a good, safe option.
Right.
And I'm really kind of putting that out there for the board as we move forward.
I think there's, some of the money has very specific
Right.
other investments you can put it in.
Right.
But I'm with you. If we put some money somewhere, it's gonna make some money.
Mm-hmm.
So, speaking on this house, there is, there's a board that she's on that's all public housing, and there's somebody up north, and they have invested in a grocery store that's near their housing authority. So I know that they've invested that way, but that's nothing that deals with us. But she was just
Right.
telling me that they've invested, bought a grocery store that's close to one of the largest amps they have. So,
Well, I mean, showing the entrepreneurial spirit, there's no better way than actually
Mm-hmm.
demonstrate.
So put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Anything else around the financial report? If not, Ms. Jones, you still?
Yes, sir. We're
Tito.
still going. Yes, sir. So, as far as the HUD report update, we have not received any updates since the last report that we got. So we don't have anything new to report with that. We're just still waiting on them to go in and look at the findings that they had and mark them off as either being closed or either asking for an additional information, but they have not.
All right.
So that stays the same.
Commissioners, any questions around the HUD report?
I think that's great.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Okay, and so then we're going into resident services. And so we're going to discuss the tabled RFPs. The Boys and Girls Club, I actually have a meeting with them on Wednesday.
Okay.
And so we'll keep that tabled for now until we go into more details. Ms. Hayes is supposed to be in that meeting with us, along with Reggie Jackson, who is the director of resident services, Brian Dolan, who is from the Boys and Girls Club, and I think Commissioner Bailey is supposed to be there as well.
Okay.
So we'll meet with them and discuss some of the issues that were brought up before. And then the next thing that's on resident services is dealing with Community First Planning Commission. This particular nonprofit was tabled as well. I think Commissioner Cullins wanted to review some information on that.
I'm sure he did.
I thought I saw something. Yeah, where'd you get that?
Executive director items,
Okay,
right behind the vacancy report.
I got it.
Yes.
All right.
Is this the one that you all were on board?
Right. So myself and Commissioner Dickerson are on this board, and so we're abstaining from this. And so I don't know if we can make a decision tonight since the chair is not here.
Yeah, I think we would need
To wait till she's back.
yeah.
So we're just table it again?
Right. I agree.
I think it's a good program. I just felt like it needed to be tabled last time. It was not.
Yeah, I got you. I think this one pager helps with us.
Yeah, especially since Commissioner Booker and I was the key reason why. There were some objections.
I actually heard 2 presentations by Ms. Tompkins, and if she could do another presentation the way she did the first presentation that I listened to, I think people would grasp a better understanding of what the program stands for, what it's about, and why it would be good for our residents. So,
Could it, since we're not going to be voting on this, could Ms. Jones, can you set up the same kind of meeting with, like you're doing with the Boys and Girls Club? You having a small group meeting with them?
the community first planning.
So I have a question. If they're wanting to raise residents' morale and work with them on solidifying their side hustle to become employment, that's the same thing Ross and Josh Plus is doing.
No, they're not doing the same thing as this program. 'Cause
Okay.
They're not going to be leading them to actual being in business. And so this is going to lead them actually to run and operate their own business.
Articles of incorporation, all that good stuff.
Everything, and then
Okay.
follow up, helping them with the whole back office, from accounting to marketing to whatever they need to do.
So this will be a great add-on.
Yes, and that's why it was presented, because Ms. Tompkins already works with some of these clients, some of our families anyway. And so that was one of the reasons why she wanted to but even though of course, it's not the only group of families that she's working with, or Community First is working with.
Does Jobs Plus have additional funding for, they can help with a program like this?
Yes, sir. They want to start their own LLC, we'll pay for it.
The other reason is there was a minority business report done by the Economic Development Authority years ago. And the consultant that was brought in was somebody who was recommended by Georgia Power, their economic arm. You all may know that Georgia Power has an economic arm. And one of the recommendations in that report was a trusted advisor. Everybody's not ready to go and talk to a banker, even though they may know about their project, but you have to be prepared for that. And you need somebody that you trust that's going to talk to you about tough questions. Often folk get involved with these with not enough money, and they forget about their light bill at some point. If you're not going to be able to budget your personal, you're not going to be successful with this business. And that's one of the things that Ms. Tompkins does very well, is making sure that it's looking after the family itself, than just saying, here, go fill out this business plan. You got to have a conversation, and sometimes it's pretty tough, if you really want to do this. And it has to be somebody that can build a relationship with them. So.
Hoping our case managers can on a personal level, not to that extent, but they have to be able to open up to them.
Right. But so we're gonna table this.
I think so.
Yeah, and if you can set up a small group meeting with I don't know if you can do it with 3, you can't have 3 commissioners. Yeah. So if Commissioner Collins and Commissioner Hayes, because I think that would be helpful to be able to answer any questions around it.
I'd be happy to present. Just, I mean,
And then they can bring back a report from that. so that we can move on with this. All right.
And then, the approved partners, all of the approved partners MOUs, they will come from Mr. Hartman's office. We've already signed a couple of them. Once they are completed and the terms and expectations will be discussed with the organizers, chief executive officer, and then it'll be signed by that person and myself. And like I said, we have signed a few of them already.
Okay.
So we're just waiting on them to come from Mr. Hartman's office, and then we go over the terms with them and they sign and agree to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, all of them haven't been completely signed and all of that, but we're working on that part as well. And then I was presented with the Safe Harbors Family Preservation. And this was approved at the last meeting. And the recommendations from the review committee stated that this was a duplication of case management services that mirrors Jobs Plus and Ross Case Management. And currently the BHA is one of the organizations that can refer residents to family preservation for services at zero cost. The Brunswick Housing Authority approved family preservation for $75,000, and there's a budget that is enclosed in your booklet for you to review. And it shows that Jobs Plus, they have the caseworkers that do the same thing as well as the Ross coordinator.
And both of the salaries are less than what's on Safe Harbor budget.
Two things. Number one, why wasn't something said when we were in the approval process?
It was in the recommendations, if I'm not mistaken.
That,
It was, and it was brought up at the meeting when this was brought up to the board.
So what I would suggest, because we're saying, have we done this with Job Plus and Ross coordinators? That's to be done, right? Because we haven't, have we hired these people?
Yes, sir, we have.
And have they started working?
Yes, sir.
So to be fair to them, because we did approve this, I think we need to look at this closer to make sure. That's for me to reverse something that I've approved, and I don't know why this wasn't, and I voted for this, and I just totally overlooked this if this was presented to me clearly. Which is something I would have to take ownership of, but to reverse something we've already approved, and they probably already incurred some expense because we did approve them a few weeks ago, then I want to really look at both of them closer to see exactly why, if they're duplicating services.
I would like to know, Commissioner Booker, what exactly they do, so that we can make sure that if there are some extenuating circumstances that we don't cover in both of these grants.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. So if, again, Ms. Jones, if you can sit down and talk with the staff over there, Leslie is the executive director. Is Leslie last name?
Hartman.
Hartman, okay. Because as I understood it, there were some things that the family preservation does that Job Plus, it didn't register to me unless it registered to you all. And I just completely overlooked that.
They've got a part-time childcare worker, I don't know what that would be.
Christina, when we was on our meeting, I thought it was basically them coming to present for us.
It was, yes, sir.
Not necessarily because we found duplication. Is that true? I'm
That's-
trying to think on it. It was mainly wanted them to come and present the program,
It was.
like the rest of them, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we need to find out when did that shift from our notes that it was a duplication. We need to find out when that shifted. Is there something that Reggie found after the meeting that we had?
It wasn't the last meeting because I wasn't here. It was the one before that I remember something being said that we wanted to look into that because it was a duplication of services that were offered through both of these grants.
Okay.
The Commissioner Dickerson, you were on the review committee. Did this come up with in y'all discussions?
No, that's what I'm thinking. That didn't come up. What came up is that they need to present to us what they plan to do to match this budget and see how we will move forward with this budget. But we didn't find any duplications in that meeting. That's why I'm trying to figure out when did that happen.
Who else was on the review committee?
Oh, Skipper was, but I don't know. He probably stepped out during that time.
Probably Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, and Vincent Williams was there too. So,
All right. Okay.
but I don't remember that being said. We
Um,
gotta look.
well,
That
can,
was-
well, can you?
Was that in the notes? And that when we was looking at, did we have that? Because we had a packet that was talking about the committee notes when everyone was presenting before us. Do we have
I
that packet
have-
right now that we can look at?
I can get it, yes, sir.
Okay.
So, like I said, it wasn't that one, it was the meeting I was at like 2 meetings ago, when you came on.
I think it was.
Yeah, I guess my concern is we've known about Job Plus for some time.
Aaron Ross,
And I guess Ross doesn't register to me as the overall program and everything. And so I know what I depend on as a commissioner is the staff working this out.
Yes, sir.
And
I wasn't-
especially if I'm on the committee,
yeah,
it need to come up at that time.
I didn't know.
And
about
now
the
we've
meeting.
approved something, and they probably
I
incurred
wasn't invited to
expenses.
attend, so I didn't have.
And I just don't think that's right. But maybe Commissioner Dickerson, if you can lead this sit-down committee with them and see, figure it out,
Okay.
so it's clear about duplication or not.
And you're saying this was flagged in the HUD report as being a duplicative?
No,
No,
sir.
It just maybe.
it came, yes, this is from Resident Services.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
But my point is resident services was in the review committee and did not, this is my first time hearing about duplication. Like I said, I'm thinking Job Plus
Yes, sir.
is something different than family preservation and counseling, having worked at Safe Harbor. Maybe I'm not understanding Job Plus.
It's
Then-
total wraparound services. We partnered with mental health providers, physical providers, optical providers, daycare providers, so. But again,
So do you provide daycare?
yes, sir.
I'm
We don't
saying
provide it, we don't, no, sir, let me
That's- that-
rephrase
that-
that. We
that's my
pay for
point.
it. That's why I
You
said
pay
there
for the
is a,
service.
yes, there is a part-time childcare worker in here, so that's why I said we need to look, because I wasn't.
What does that mean,
I don't
part-time
know.
childcare?
I don't know, that's why we need to look at it, I don't know.
One thing,
And how many residents do we anticipate participating in Jobs Plus?
I think we went door to door and handed out, well, let me rephrase that. We asked the property managers to hand out flyers. We only got 33% back of the flyers. Out of those 33%, 98% would be, so probably around 350, we're hoping, because our target is 18 to 65.
when were the flyers?
Ma'am?
When did the flyers go out?
Today. Well, the property managers did this a month and a half ago.
Oh.
They were supposed to put them on all the doors. But our Jobs Plus team went out today and put them on every door.
I guess my thought is that this would service all residents, whereas the Jobs Plus would only service those that participate in Jobs Plus. correct?
We can only pay for services 18 to 65, yes, sir. That's
And
correct.
So how's that duplication of services? If it's, this service cannot be, it's not gonna be for all of our families. I mean, you're saying, based on the requirements of the grant, that you can't service all of the
Spend
families.
funds on anybody over 65 or under 18, unless they have children. Now, I mean, children of a resident, we can pay for childcare or whatever, but, I mean, you're right.
One thing that stuck out to me was the safe harbor. When she did her presentation, she said that she would actually go to stores with residents. And so the residents that are over that age, they have an opportunity and access to have someone go to the store for them or to go and pick out what they need or want. And then I think that was the biggest thing that stuck out to me from her presentation. But I would love to kind of review what she said and give it one more look to make sure.
Yeah, if Commissioner Dickerson can lead the effort with you, Commissioner Hayes, and y'all get with the staff to meet with them to make sure that, of exactly what their services are, and then compare them to the Job Plus and bring back a recommendation at our work session, that would be great.
I see it on here, but I still don't remember. It seemed like this was added after our meeting. I don't remember this one. That's what's puzzling me. That's why I asked Christina. And you don't remember either, Skip? You don't remember this one?
I don't recall it, no. If it was sometime after, I think it was like 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
Until-
'cause you had to go to another meeting, right?
All right.
Okay. Well,
All right, well, we'll table that till we get the comparisons of the two services. And hopefully we can have a recommendation at the work session. All right. That's everything under the executive director's report. Ms. Jones, do you have anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay. We're gonna move on to C, approval of the write-offs for July 20th, 23. And, that's usually, where's that at?
that's in the last, that should be in the last, up under your stuff here.
Okay.
What section is it?
Right off tab,
I just be pulling them out. Where?
it's right after all the numbers under, executive director items. Yeah.
See, the fees are getting better.
Come on this. I'm still not on
You know, see, you gotta go all the way to the back. Probably all the way,
here. In the back of this?
Yeah, there you
All right. And you know what, the look is easy, isn't it? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
All right, any comments on this? For folk who maybe, are we being live streamed or just recorded?
It's live streaming and recording both.
Okay, so for the public, can we get an explanation of what this actually is, the write-off report?
It is charges that have been charged to different tenants, and they've moved out, so these charges are proposed to be written off. And of course, they'll still try to collect the debt, but to write it off of the accounts receivable,
All
the
right,
tenant accounts receivable.
gotcha. Commissioners, any questions around this? If not,
I'm still seeing some $50 charges on here. Did we ever get, which is, I believe, what HUD dinged us on? Did we get to the bottom of that?
And those charges, if I'm not mistaken, of course, I wasn't here then, but I think what you're seeing is before it was all brought to light that you can't charge that.
Right,
So,
which is hard to do anything about.
right, because it was already done.
Yeah.
Looks like they're gonna be on there for a while.
All right, commissioners, we have to approve this, right?
I'd like to move that we approve the write-offs for July 20th, 2023.
Second.
Been motion and properly second to approve the write-offs as presented. All in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously.
Since he's not on here, and I'm sorry I didn't add it, but I would like to just say something before we adjourn. I had an opportunity to be a part of the commissioners' retreat on Jekyll Island last week. It was truly amazing, and I highly recommend that we all attend the conference, the gala conference in September, especially if it's in our budget to handle those expenses. Because there will be some training for commissioners there where we can all learn what our duties are, really. I mean, they gave some good stuff, and from what I've learned, we are already in, we have a lot of violations as commissioners. I ain't gonna call names or present people, but we got some violations, and we gotta change that immediately. Am I correct, Ms. Jones?
You are.
Okay, all right. I just wanna,
I sat in that
wanna
same training.
I just
Woman
wanna-
Sheffield was there
Yeah, they
too.
was right there. I just wanna, just a recommendation that we all go as a,
Where is the training?
it's gonna be in Savannah.
It'll be at the Marriott in Savannah. If I'm not mistaken, September the 16th, I think it is.
Say that.
Oh, boy.
How many days?
Anniversary.
Oh,
I think it's like 2-3 days, right?
it is. It's the 17th through
The 19th?
the 19th.
I would have already taken a week off for the gala with the residents.
That's right, yeah.
So
Okay.
for me to take another week off, I don't know if I'll have a job when I come back.
And some of y'all may be familiar with Stewart because I saw that he was a vendor here he did some attorney work here. He's actually going to be the speaker at that training.
Stewart.
Stewart, yes, Duggan.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good name to mention right now.
He will be
I put
doing
my
training.
finger up like we do in church.
So yes,
I was about to say, I know that name. though.
yes, he was a vendor. I saw him on a list of vendors for y'all, so I know that
Well,
somebody may be.
well, he wasn't.
But now he does
wasn't
an
the
excellent-
trainer at this retreat.
No.
But,
But he does do an excellent training. I have sat in some of his classes, and he does do good training for commissioners.
We'll let Cullen deal with that. All right, commissioners, could I get a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else?
So moved.
Second.
Then the motion and properly second that we adjourn the meeting. Raise your hands in favor. Thank you. All right.
I got to go.